Got some bags under my eyes. Normal hair and makeup lady is out today, so gotta do this on my own. Sorry everyone. Gotta look at this. What's going on, you guys? This is a video that I have been wanting to make for quite some time now. I think it's going to help clear up quite a bit of confusion, to help me get this out to everybody who's looking potentially for a realtor, somebody who's looking to transact in the sale of real property. This is going to help a lot of people out, as well as myself. That way we are able to have a clear understanding of what it is exactly that I owe you. Now I have things like, my job, I've got to push the paperwork, I've got to do the negotiations, I have to understand what it is that you are looking for. However, this is just a kind of a basic guideline on setting expectations with your realtor, as well as understanding what a realtor is legally and ethically bound to provide to you. So all right, first let's jump into it. We're going to be talking today about OLDCAR. That's OLDCAR. Now, that is an acronym that was taught when I went through pre-licensing to get my license as a realtor, and I'm not sure what they teach today, but I don't imagine it's too far off, maybe some little variant. But starting with OLDCAR, first letter is O. O is obedience to all lawful orders by the client. Now, it has to be lawful. I cannot do something for you or with you or on your behalf that is illegal in nature, discriminatory towards anybody, really. It has to be a lawful set of instructions for me to follow, and I have to do that. I don't make decisions for you. That's a different type of agency. So I am not here to make your decisions for you. I might have a solid understanding of what it is that you're looking for, but again, and I'll say it 1,000 times, I'm not allowed to do those things for you. You're going to be the one that has to make those decisions. Most of the time, I'm going to have those conversations in writing to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Tons and tons of signatures, but we'll get into more of that in a minute. All right, now we are in L. So L is loyalty. Loyalty to you and your interests. Your interests are above my own in all aspects of this transaction. This is your asset, or soon to be your asset, and I am here to manage the transaction portion, and that is it. I have no say in your property. This is yours. It belongs to you. It's your finances, your financial picture as a whole, your transaction, not mine. So that being said, I have to put your interests above mine with everything. Now, you might ask yourself, how could I possibly be more loyal to myself than the client, given that I have really no say in any of this stuff? But I've heard before I got into the game that realtors will try to stack prices higher and higher and higher for their own personal gain. I am commission based. All other realtors typically are commission based. However, if I'm trying to hum and haw, with a client, over a couple $1,000s, plus or minus on the sale of their property, that's really going to equate to pennies for me. There's a bunch of other things that kind of go into effect. Like if let's say I'm on the seller's side and I say like, oh yeah, your house is worth $500,000, but it's really worth $250,000. Your property is not going to sell at that price. So it really doesn't do me any good anyway. So I would definitely say, the advice that I'm giving is based on, of course, first and foremost, loyalty to you, loyalty to your interests. But I don't stand to really gain anything if I lie to you. So I would just say, in respect to that, don't be too hesitant to think that we're trying to pull a fast one on you or pull the wool over your eyes. That's absolutely untrue. And I hope I've made that point very clear. But if you got any more questions about that, of course, feel free to drop it in the comments below. Or if you've had an instance with something that you feel might be a good or bad, let us know in the comments. All right, D, disclosures. So what does that mean? I have to disclose everything that I know about the property, as well as you do. So if you're selling the property, your property, it's pretty reasonable to assume that since you are not a plumber or an electrician, that you might not actually be aware of anything that's wrong with the property. Hey, every time I turn the faucet on, water comes out and everything is good. But so you are held to the standard of what you might be. If you're not a plumber, you don't know what's wrong with the property. But if you do know that there is something that's a material fact and that has to be disclosed, I am held to that as well. My license is on the line with every transaction. I'm always trying to, I have to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. It's an ethical obligation, as well as not wanting to forfeit my license. I mean, it's something that I love doing, and I really, really enjoy helping my clients. But let's get back on track. I have to disclose everything that I'm aware of. Now, that could be a material fact about the property, or if, let's say, I have personal interest in the transaction of real estate. So like if I'm selling my own home, or if I'm trying to buy my own home, or my business has this property, whatever the case is, I have to disclose that. Now, at the end of the day, it's up to the buyer or the seller to take those disclosures and say, like, yes, that's absolutely fine. Okay, he's a realtor, he's selling his own property, no big deal. But just as long as you know, and that everybody is made aware, and that there's no weird hiccups later on. So, all right, next we have C, confidentiality. So confidentiality is really what it's obvious. It's an obvious one, but when we're talking about transacting large assets, maybe there's tons of equity in the property. I'm going to ask you things that have to do with your financial picture. How much cash do you have on hand? What are some of the tools that we can use? Because I need to know certain things, like, hey, if you don't have any cash to fix up your property, we can approach this transaction a little bit different. Or if you're sitting on tons of cash, great, we can approach it this way and still get the best outcome for you. Now, I'm not out here blasting your information on the internet or anything like that. Myself, my team, we owe you the utmost confidentiality, because we are dealing with, say, cash on hand, your financial picture, where you live. That's a big one. I don't want people blasting my address out, where I live. It's just for people that I trust and that I want them to be and feel welcomed in my home. And I just want to extend that to you. I can't talk about confidentiality enough. There's nothing that's discussed outside of my office when it comes to you, your wants, your needs, your financial picture, just anything that doesn't actually pertain to you and your transaction. That doesn't go anywhere. That doesn't go anywhere at all. That stays at home. So I hope I hope that you are able to understand how important that is to myself, as well as the other industry professionals, loan officers. I mean, they're really digging into your W-2. How much money did you make? Are you making now? What are you spending your money on? They really get into those financials. But fret not. Just understand that we do keep that very, very close and near and dear to our hearts. So that's something that I will talk to you about with our first meeting. Hey, there's it doesn't matter if it's on a Zoom or if we're kneecap to kneecap sitting in your kitchen at your kitchen table. Just understand that that's something I'm going to go over and over and over with you again. And it's not really to just gain your trust, but it's to let you know that this is what this is and the level that we are trying to operate. So I think I've talked enough about that. On to the next one. All right, A is for accountability. Now, accountability is, I have gone through all these things. I gave you my speech. Here's what we can do. My team is capable in this. I'm gonna be, able to communicate with you all the time. Whatever, blah blah blah. I've built some trust in me and established that rapport. And what happens if I just disappear off the face of the earth, or a team member of mine didn't get back in touch with you in an appropriate amount of time, or whatever the case is? I'm accountable to you. And again, this is just a huge transfer of assets, wealth. We're talking about some big ticket stuff here, and it's very important. And I'm accountable to you for my actions, my inactions. I'm always going to be on time. I'm always going to send a response in a timely manner. It doesn't matter what it is. I work for you during this period and after, but the primary thing I really want to focus on is that you can trust that I am going to do exactly what I say and when I say I'm going to do it. If I say I'm going to send out this email, get in touch with these people, or whatever the case is, I'm going to do it at that point. So I'm accountable to you, I'm accountable to this transaction, and I'm accountable to all other parties involved. This is primarily focused on you, of course. However, I owe that to my fellow real estate professionals. The lender's going to need documents from me. The other realtor on the other side is going to need things from me. There's going to be tons and tons of communication back and forth, and everything that I do really speaks volumes, good or bad. But on to the next. All right, R, reasonable care. Reasonable care, really kind of encompasses some of those things we've already talked about. The accountability. Obviously, I have to be accountable to you, so I'm going to send that email when I'm going to, say I'm going to send it or find out that information. Reasonable care with your personal identifiable information, your PII. I'm not going to be leaving your anything that's sensitive to you on a sticky note in my vehicle. That's just irresponsible. And everything that I do, there has to be some level of reasonable care with how I approach you with good and bad news, how I handle sensitive documents pertaining to you in this transaction. I mean, there's every little thing. I'm not just sending off emails willy-nilly or talking about my clients on the internet. None of that. So that is what I owe you and every other real estate professional during this transaction. It's not just me. We're all holding each other accountable, and it's really comes together, and it works out nice. So just understand that we have to take that reasonable care, and I feel like that's a good broad stroke for everything we've discussed up until this point. All right, so that wraps up OLDCAR. A couple other things I'd like to add to the list is communication, and as well as expectations on communication. Now, I've had some clients who want to be kept up to date, 24/7 on any actions or inactions. Like, hey, sometimes during the deal with me, there's might not be something that happens, a couple days in a row. But my clients still want to be like, hey, has there been anything? Are there any emails for me? What have you guys talked about? Things like that. So some of my clients really want to be kept up to date on literally every tiny little thing, which is fine. I just need to know that way we have an understanding with each other that when something comes, there's traffic flow and an email, regarding you or your property or whatever, that you are updated on all that. Now, most people don't need that, but either way, I want to make sure that I'm providing you with the service that you are expecting, that you're wanting from me, the real estate professional. Not everything is perfect, and sometimes, I think that things are going smooth, and you want to be updated more. Or other times I'm like, hey, here's what happened today. We did this. I sent out this email. Here's whatever. And people are like, why are you telling me this? It doesn't pertain to me today. So just understand that everybody's different. I'm different in how I communicate, but I love to send off emails. I'll shoot you a text right away, and phone calls. I think that they're very personal, especially when it comes to good information and bad information. I'm not gonna send that to you through a text message. Just old school. I don't know, but just understand that I like to communicate, and really what that means to me is I'm not just emitting noise out into the ether. I am actually telling you, like, this is what this means, and this is what that means, and this is how long this is going to take, and this is what the other person said, and whatever. Do you understand all that? Yes or no? And I just want it because this is the world that I live in. I do this every single day, and I understand the terms, I understand all the acronyms, I understand all this stuff. Most people don't really have an understanding of not just the transaction of real estate, but all the communications that happen, and all the contracts, and what paperwork and documents you need, and how long things take. People don't really understand, and that's okay, and that's why I'm here. But just know that when when I'm doing it every day, I have to remember that you don't, my clients don't, and I have to know where they're coming from and how much they want to be involved. So just please let your realtor know, or me, of course, know what you want and what you are expecting, and I will do the same for you. I understand. I've got some clients who are medical professionals, and they have weird working hours. Not a typical 9-to-5 job. However, when I'll send out an email for, we'll need some signatures, we'll need some documents retrieved from you, whatever. And I understand that because I know my clients, but I'm going to send a text after the email and just be like, hey, there is some urgency with this document. I would like you to, at your soonest, please get this done to me, done and sent to me. Hey, I sent you something, no rush, just whenever you get a chance. Fill this thing out, or whatever the case is. Point is that I'm going to understand you best I can, and just hope that you can work with me as well when I say, like, hey, I kind of need this. I need this back right away. But anyway, that's tons of communication. I'm all about it. I'm all about over communicating. I want you to tell me everything about you, what you want, what you don't want. That's how I can better serve you. So don't feel bad if you keep asking questions, if you are always telling me, like, hey, this is what we want, this is what we're doing. Please, it helps me out. It helps me out. So I think that wraps up communications and expectations. That's not obviously it's not a document. It's not something that's really out there, but just know that someone like myself, I will be sitting down, I'll be talking to you about this stuff. Of course, I'm going to tell you my job, like, all right, these are the documents involved, here's what they look like, here's what some of these terms mean, here's how long it's going to take, here's how much money you're going to make, here's how much money you're going to need to bring to the table, all that stuff, right? Of course, that's like the meat and potatoes of what I do, but also the fringe stuff that I think is absolutely almost more important in some instances. And anyone who's transacted real estate understands that the expectations and the communications are key. Again, I know I've gone on and on and on, but it's important. It's important for me, and I hope that it's important for you. The other thing is, we really shield you from, I wouldn't call it the ugly, but there's so many emails back and forth. Hey, did you get this? Please confirm receipt. Hey, we're adding this person, this administrative person. Please add this. It gets kind of messy sometimes. There's a lot of email traffic going back and forth, and updates and whatever else. So that's really a lot of behind the scenes. So we kind of teach ourselves to not get too far into the weeds with talking to the clients, like, hey, by the way, they asked for this document. It really, unless I need something from you, just know that I'm going to be keeping a lot of that kind of stuff quiet. This is one of those events that's for you, because you don't do this every day. Nobody does this every day. when you are, so busy with your work, your personal lives, your interests and hobbies, your family, whatever the case is that you're doing, and I guess I could say dealing with every day, buying a home or selling a home is not your typical everyday thing, right? So this is a disruptive event that's going on in your life, whether that's good or bad and how you perceive it, but it is a disruptive event that's going on in your life. I don't feel the need to flood you with information that doesn't necessarily change what it is that you're doing. So if I needed a document from you filled out, I'm going to absolutely say, hey, I need this document filled out. Please give some attention to this. However, if I'm just emailing the other realtor back and forth and getting some other things kind of worked out on our end, I don't need to I'm shielding you from that, if that makes sense. So anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate you putting your trust in to all this information. I understand that it can be like drinking water from a fire hydrant, and this is just setting expectations. There's so much more involved, but please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to help you, and stick around. There's so much more content to come, and drop any comments, likes, subscribe, all the YouTube algorithm stuff for me. That would be greatly appreciated. And if you know anybody who's interested in real estate, whether it's buying, selling, investing, it doesn't matter where in the US, send them to my channel, tell them to send me an email, and I'll be able to help them out. So thank you so much, and bye.